This is the Daily Roundup on the EAC Cambodia channel. A very good evening to you. I'm Andrew Barnes-Roberts. Making headlines tonight. At least one person has been killed in flash floods in Sihanoukville, with others making very lucky escapes. Some relief for Cambodia's healthcare workers, with the number of active COVID-19 cases at its lowest since early April. And a blaze of fireworks above Tokyo signals the start of the 2020 Paralympic Games. At least one person has been killed in flash floods in downtown Sihanoukville. The man was reported missing on Tuesday evening after being swept off his motorbike and being carried away by a flooded canal. His body was found in Commune 4 by police on Wednesday morning. EAC news reporter Reo Soko has the details.
This person had a very lucky escape after they were also swept up by floodwaters in Sihanoukville. The city's communes 1, 2, 3, and 4 are the worst affected, with vehicles seemingly floating, homes flooded, and roads resembling lakes. Pria Sihanouk Governor Kurt Chamran says 249 millimeters of rain fell on Tuesday evening, causing low-lying areas to be completely swamped. The man who was killed was crossing Mitapiap Street on his motorbike when he was carried away. The Sihanoukville Administrative Unity Command is now surveying the flooded areas. The Weather Office has warned of heavy rains for the next week. Provincial and capital administrations are advising everyone across the kingdom to be on high alert. Rhea Soko, EAC News.
The permanent mission of the Kingdom of Cambodia to the United Nations in Geneva has slammed what it calls the personal views of UN human rights officials who have criticized the recent conviction of union leader Rong Chun. The UNHCR released a statement on Tuesday, quoting a number of special rapporteurs sharply criticizing Cambodia for sentencing Chun to 2 years in prison for comments he made about Cambodia's handling of a border dispute with Vietnam. One rapporteur is quoted as saying that the prison term is neither justified nor proportionate, and that human rights defenders are being jailed for acts that are protected by their rights to freedom under Cambodian law. Another says human rights defenders should never be arrested, detained, or convicted for their efforts to protect the human rights of others. But Cambodia's permanent mission to the UN has now hit back. An Sakurn says the special rapporteurs have taken their eyes off the bigger picture. He described them as so-called experts, not being UN staff members and only serving in their personal capacity. He says they are self-representing as judges in what is an internal judicial affair of a sovereign state. He believes their statements amount to professional misconduct and breach of the UN's Code of Conduct. His statement goes on to say that the special rapporteurs claim that the conviction of Rong Chun was not justified or proportionate does not attend to factual and legal aspects. He describes Rong Chun's border-related comments as fabricated and not equal to freedom of speech. He says the territorial matter with Vietnam is both sensitive and complicated and must be resolved by recognized experts and not be instrumentalized for political manipulation. He says affiliation with an NGO should never be a license to break the law with impunity. The Ministry of Education, Youth and Sports, in collaboration with the Ministry of Posts and Telecommunications, is busy conducting a 5-day workshop on online child protection. Ministers are being joined by experts from civil society, educational institutions and media agencies as they look at ways of protecting children from online abuse. Cases have skyrocketed around the world over the past 18 months, with the pandemic leaving children highly vulnerable to online predators. With schools still closed in Cambodia, children are learning online, but are often spending time on a smartphone or laptop with no adult supervision. The NGO Action pour les Enfants says predators are preying on children via apps and social media. They can be lured into innocently producing pornography or tricked into sharing sensitive information such as credit card numbers and physical addresses. Parents are being advised to keep an eye on how long their children are spending on the internet, what sites they're looking at if they're in their bedrooms for long periods of time, or if they start displaying changes in emotion or behavior. More guidelines and measures are expected to be announced when the online conference concludes on Friday. The World Health Organization in the Western Pacific region says border controls and closures are not possible to maintain for a long-term period. WHO Regional Director Dr. Takeshi Kasai was speaking during Wednesday's virtual media briefing. He says vaccines and a risk-based approach in every country are the keys to reopening borders. In his opening remarks, he expressed admiration for a 108-year-old Cambodian woman who chose to get vaccinated. He added that the royal government is trying its level best to manage the situation along its borders, with Delta cases on the rise. EAC News reporter Reo Soko attended that conference.
The WHO in the Western Pacific has noted that Cambodia's current challenge is land border control. WHO Regional Director Dr. Takeshi Kasai says that Cambodia is trying its utmost to manage borders, routing to Vietnam, Thailand, and also China. He has emphasized that with rising Delta case numbers, many countries in the Western Pacific are enhancing border controls with travel restrictions, but says keeping these border controls in place for an extended period is too costly and possibly unreasonable.
We don't know actually exactly when the border can be fully open, but what we know is that depends actually on what action we take. And so the best way to get there is to stay the course and use the knowledge we have from experience shared from other countries, and use all measures we know it's effective: vaccine, public health and social measures, and also a border control, continue to learn and improve, and also strengthen the health capacity. Make that as a combination.
While Cambodia is mixing AstraZeneca vaccines as booster shots for Sinopharm and Sinovac, the WHO has advised all countries in the region to provide the same vaccines as much as possible.
There were no clinical trials that were undertaken for the mix and match vaccines. While we were rolling out the vaccination and in the context of the constraints of supplies, other countries have considered mixing and matching vaccines. And we know that some countries, including the UK, have used AstraZeneca as the first dose and Pfizer as the second dose. And with the very limited data that is available, it seems that this combination is effective and also safe. However, aside from that, we do not have studies to show that other vaccines can also be mixed and matched.
Dr. Kasai recalled his video call last week with a 108-year-old Cambodian woman who chose to get vaccinated. He says he was inspired and motivated by a woman who chose to get vaccinated to be able to protect herself and others in her community. Rhea Soko, EAC News.
Cambodia's number of active COVID-19 cases is at its lowest since April. Healthcare workers are currently treating 1,991 COVID-19 patients. That number hasn't been that low since the 10th of April, when 1,975 people were receiving care. Active cases peaked on the 11th of May, when they hit 11,922. The sharp drop in active cases is due to the fact that daily cases have been outpaced by recoveries for almost 4 weeks running. The Health Ministry reported just 428 new cases on Wednesday lunchtime, compared to 572 recoveries. The daily death toll is 14. Cambodia's total case tally has now climbed to 90,535. The death toll stands at 1,835. The number of patients treated successfully since the pandemic reached Cambodia is 86,702. Well, let's take a look now at news making global headlines in today's International Wrap. Kamala Harris has become the first US vice president to visit Vietnam. She arrived in the country on Tuesday evening after a 3-hour delay in leaving Singapore. Washington says unnamed officials in the Vietnamese capital had come down with the mysterious Havana syndrome, which causes dizziness, nausea, migraines, and memory loss. It wasn't until it had been determined that there was no threat to the vice president that she was allowed to take off. Harris arrived in Hanoi after a 3-day visit to Singapore, where she used a speech to slam China for what she called its attempts to lay claim to the South China Sea, seen as critical to US security.
Our vision includes freedom of navigation, which is vital to us all. The livelihood of millions of people depend on the billions of dollars in trade that flow through these sea lanes each day. And yet, in the South China Sea, we know that Beijing continues to coerce, to intimidate, and to make claims to the vast majority of the South China Sea. And Beijing's actions continue to undermine the rules-based order and threaten the sovereignty of nations. The United States stands with our allies and partners in the face of these threats.
The Biden administration has called its rivalry with China the biggest geopolitical test of the century. More than 20 people have been killed and dozens of others injured in shootings and stampedes near Kabul's Hamid Karzai International Airport. Tens of thousands of Afghans are swarming the area, hoping to board an evacuation flight. Most are not holding passports or identity documents. Even those with the right paperwork are being prevented from entering the airport because of the chaos. The Taliban says there will be no further evacuation flights allowed after the 31st of August. At the same time, pressure is mounting on the group to start delivering on its promises of a better future. Kabul residents are calling for jobs, peace, and lower prices. Even before the Taliban swept into the city on the 15th of August, conditions had been getting worse, with their rapid advance on the capital sending the value of the local currency plunging against the dollar, pushing prices of basic foodstuffs ever higher. And time appears to be finally catching up on the Rolling Stones. Its drummer, Charlie Watts, widely regarded as one of the coolest men in rock, having spent nearly 60 years with the band, has died at the age of 80. He passed away peacefully in a London hospital, surrounded by his family. Watts played drums on all of the group's 30 albums and on every tour until he pulled out of the 13-date No Filter US tour due to start this September. He joined the Rolling Stones way back in 1963. The 2020 Paralympic Games are finally underway in Tokyo. All the details after the break in your sports news. EAC News fully supports the Royal Government of Cambodia's preventative and administrative measures against COVID-19. But we need you to play your part in helping bring the 20 February community transmission event to an end. Wash your hands regularly, sanitize wherever possible. Keep an eye on your body temperature. Use the Stop COVID QR code and maintain a safe social distance. But above all, please, 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 wear a mask. Only together can we beat COVID-19. EARTS Cambodia's audience is growing. Our YouTube channel now has 150,000 verified subscribers. To mark the milestone, we've received the Silver Creator Award from YouTube, given to channels with over 100,000 subscribers. YouTube CEO Susan Wojcicki says the award celebrates EARTS Cambodia's hard work and incredible achievement. She says not only has EARTS Cambodia brought a unique voice and style to the world, but has also created valuable connections and built a community along the way. The next milestone we're going for is 1 million subscribers, and we'd really like that Gold Creator Award. So if you're not already a subscriber, head to www.youtube.com/EARTS Cambodia. Subscribers get all the latest breaking news and updates from Cambodia in English. We'll see you there. If it's happening and you need to know about it, you'll get it all right here. EAC News brings you updates and breaking news in English across all of EARTS Cambodia's platforms and channels: YouTube, Facebook, Telegram, Twitter, and our website www.eartscambodia.com. Join me, Andrew Barnes-Roberts, and the rest of the EAC News team every day on your favorite channels. EAC News, Cambodia made clear. The night sky above Tokyo was filled with fireworks on Tuesday night during the opening ceremony of the 2020 Paralympic Games. Cambodia's Van Von, who will participate in the T54 men's 100-meter wheelchair race, carried the national flag during the parade of athletes who hailed from 162 countries. Despite being told to stay at home and watch the event on television, dozens of people gathered outside the stadium to get a glimpse of the pyrotechnics. The Japanese capital is under a COVID state of emergency, and just like the next 12 days of competition, there were practically no spectators inside the stadium for the opening ceremony. Organizers say it was attended only by 3,400 athletes, 800 Games stakeholders and guests of honor, and 2,400 members of the media. The Paralympics will run until Sunday, the 5th of September. Mental health was the buzz phrase at the Tokyo 2020 Olympic Games, with world champion gymnast Simone Biles withdrawing from several events, citing her poor mental health. Earlier this year, it also hit the world of tennis, with women's number 2 Naomi Osaka withdrawing from the French Open after refusing to make media appearances, saying they were having a negative impact on her state of mind. The United States Tennis Association has clearly been listening. It's announced a mental health initiative for players ahead of next week's US Open. Competitors at Flushing Meadows will have access to what the tournament is calling its Comprehensive Medical Services Program. It will include access to mental health providers and so-called quiet rooms. Tournament director Stacey Allister says the issue of mental health awareness has been brought to the forefront over the course of the pandemic, with most people, including sports stars, struggling with the stress and emotion that has come as a result of COVID-19. Since Naomi Osaka's withdrawal, the French Open has said it could also do better at addressing the mental health challenges that players are dealing with. Real Madrid have made a $188 million bid for Paris Saint-Germain forward Kylian Mbappe, although there's been no immediate comment from either club. Francis L'Equipe says PSG's position remains unchanged, though, with the Ligue 1 club determined to keep Mbappe until at least the end of his contract next June. With Mbappe happily jogging next to Neymar and enjoying his PSG training session, the club must know that selling him would certainly help its bank account. It recently spent a reported $104 million securing Lionel Messi from Barcelona. Real Madrid's offer was reportedly made on Sunday, described as a first step by Real, who have long had their sights on the 22-year-old World Cup winner. Mbappe scored 42 goals for PSG last season and is on record as saying he does want to move to Spain. Despite being one of PSG's leading goal scorers, there's not much keeping him at the club, with PSG winning only one major trophy, the French Cup, last season. They lost the league title by just 1 point to Lille and crashed out of the Champions League semi-finals. Mbappe joined PSG on loan from AS Monaco in 2017. A year later, he signed an almost $200 million contract. All right, let's take a look at what the weather's going to be up to tomorrow. And finally, as the old joke goes, why did the chicken cross the road? To get to the other side. And that's exactly what a swan and her little cygnet were trying to do in Perth, Australia, although this road was a 5-lane freeway. So there you are, driving along the freeway when you suddenly spot a tow truck driver attempting to help a stranded mother and child cross 5 lanes of traffic. Amazingly, during morning rush hour, everybody stopped on Perth's Kinawa freeway to allow the swan and her cygnet to slowly waddle across the road, even if they did need a little encouragement. Thank you for watching the Daily Roundup here on the EARTS Cambodia channel. You'll get more breaking news and updates from our website. Head to www.e-artscambodia.com. You can also search for EAC News on Telegram and at your favorite app store. More from the EAC News team tomorrow night at 8. I'll see you then.